Okay, today we are going to talk about 301 redirects, what they are, where you might need them, and how you can actually implement them. Picture this. You finally get brave, you tweak a page of the name on your website, or maybe you delete an old page entirely, and then boom, you have just created a broken link. And when someone clicks it, they land on this little digital dead end called a 404 error. So what is a 404? It's basically your website's way of shrugging and saying that they really don't have a clue what you're looking for. And it's not the kind of vibe that we are wanting on our website. So it matters because 404 errors are frustrating for visitors. They hurt trust. They even mess with your Google rankings because if a potential client hits a 404, they're probably not sticking around to figure it out and find out how they get to somewhere that they need to be. They're gone, they're off to someone else's site, and honestly, you just thought you were moving a page, or you just renamed it, or you cleaned up some old blog posts. You didn't realize it was going to have some kind of dire consequences. But the good news is that there's a really simple fix. And this is where 301 redirects come into their own. They're like traffic signs for the internet. They say, hey, this page isn't here anymore, but here's the new one. And it happens seamlessly. The visitors don't even notice. It means that Google's happy, the clients stay on track. And there's also something called the 302 redirect. And you might see that pop up. There's also a 303, a 307, a 308. But a quick explainer, the ones that you're most likely to see are the 301s and the 302s. The first one, the 301, is a permanent redirect. It means you've moved that page for good, and that URL, the web address, is never going to be in use again. A 302 is a temporary redirect. So it might be that you're testing something, or you're making a temporary switch, or you might have a page that's seasonal. Most of the time, if in doubt, you are going to want to use a 301 redirect. So let me talk about 3 simple ways that you can set up a redirect on your website. Now there are more ways, but I'm going for the 3 that are the most straightforward to get your redirect sorted. And a little bit depends on how you've got your website set up, but if you're on WordPress, then of course there is a plugin that you can use. In fact, there are numerous plugins that you can use. The one that I choose to use is called Redirection, and it makes it really so straightforward to get your URLs and your redirects sorted out. You just install it, you add the old URL, you plug in the new one, you click on save, and boom, that's your redirect sorted. It's perfect if you're not comfortable poking around in code. So let me show you exactly how it works in a website. So here I am in my website. If I want to install a plugin, I'm going to come over here to add a plugin. And once I'm in the repository, I can search my plugins for one called Redirection. So if I start typing that in, it will bring up the search results for it. I'm going to choose the redirection that I want to use, and it's this one here. And I'm going to click on to install. Now, it says it's untested with my version of WordPress. I have got another video that talks about essential plugins and how to choose if one is reputable or not. I'll link to that in the show notes, so that below the video, so that you can see that. But I know that this is a reputable plugin. It's got 2 million active installations. And even though it's been a couple of months, it's been updated, I'm confident that it's fine. So I'm going to activate this. And once it's active, you can find it in here in your install plugins, but you'll also find it in your settings. It's under tools and it's under redirection here. So if I go to redirection, the first time when you've set it up or installed it, it's going to ask you to walk through a wizard. I'm just going to choose the default settings because you can always change them, and I'll show you where you can change that. So I'm just finishing off this, and then we can start getting them set up. And I'll show you, if ever you want to go back and change any of the options from the setup wizard, there are places where you can do that. So if I click on continue, we're ready to get started. The options here are ones that we saw during setup. Here, URL monitoring. So we can fix up any of these. We can configure these settings as we're wanting to. Generally, just leaving them as the default is fine. And then to set up the redirects, you would come over here and you would use the source URL So I'm just going to grab the actual URL and you would add it in here. So let's say I'm changing my about page to a page called Meet Vicky. Now this isn't going to work because I don't have a page on this website called Meet Vicky, but I'm going to add the redirect anyway so that you can see it shows up here, and you can then click on check redirect. It's going to bring up an error for me because it's going to land on a 404. It doesn't like this URL that I've added here because this page doesn't exist. But you can check this and make sure that it does all exist. If you are wanting to change from a 301 to a 302 or anything else, then you can choose that here in this drop down. And any of those, you can set up as many URLs as you want to, as many redirects as you want to, and they will all show up here so that you can test them, you can edit them if you need to. So this is the redirection plugin. It's really, really straightforward. It's going to get you up and running really fast. So the second option is to use the SiteGround dashboard. So SiteGround is the hosting provider that I recommend, but most hosting providers will give you this option. So here's how you do it from your SiteGround dashboard, and you can look for similar options if you are hosted with somebody else. So I'm clicking into SiteGround. My websites, I have a number of these here, but I'm going to click into my site tools next to the URL and the web address that I'm wanting to use. And in here, once we've clicked in here, we will see an option under domains called redirects. And it looks very similar. It looks very similar to the redirection plugin. So if I click on domain, redirects, this is here where you would do it. Now it's added the domain name in. So with that example that I gave you a moment ago, I would be changing my about with a permanent redirect, and I would redirect it to Meet Vicky. And then you would go ahead and click on to create. I'm not going to create that here. But then that's it sorted. You have your domain redirect sorted out. And then once you've saved that, you're done. It's clean, it's simple, and it's done in minutes. The third option that you have is the HT access file. Now this is for the brave ones amongst you. It's the one for the geeks and the control freaks. If you're running an Apache server, you can add redirects directly into your HT access file. Now, if you're not sure if you're running on Apache, then probably skip this and use one of the other options that I've given you. But we can add in a string of a command that I will paste below this video so that you can go ahead and grab it. And that will give you the option to use one line of code per redirect. You just want to make sure that you back up your site first before you start tinkering in your HT access file, because you don't want to break your site accidentally. So those are the three options. Now, there's one other thing that I just want to mention, is because if you are changing your entire domain name, this bit is important, because you're not just changing a few of the pages, but you're switching up the whole domain name, and that's a bigger move. And it needs a full site-wide redirect at your domain hosting level. So most hosting platforms like SiteGround or Cloudflare, they will let you do this at the domain level. So don't forget to update your sitemap and resubmit it to Google Search Console too. Otherwise, search engines will be crawling through a ghost website and your traffic could drop off a cliff. So don't forget that your 404 page, even with the best redirects in place, people will sometimes still stumble onto a 404 error page. And that's why it's a smart move to make your 404 page actually helpful, not just a blank error. So you can check out some resources on 404 pages below this video. I've got examples and a few tricks to make that lost visitor stick around instead of bouncing. So really, the moral of this is don't let your website leak visitors. You want to have your 301 redirect set up because they're a quick win that protects your traffic, your credibility, and your SEO. And pick whichever option works for you, the plugin, your hosting plan, or the HT access file, and then get those links sorted. And if you're doing a full domain swap, redirect that whole domain name properly, or you will suddenly become invisible online. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you being here. If you've enjoyed this video, hit subscribe, and you can check out some other videos on my channel.